knowledge to us. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Again, this is one practice we can always do. Always go back to our breath wherever we are. Now, today, what I want to do. So, would I be able to share it, Daryl, or no? No. Okay. Okay, that's okay. Okay, it's just disabled. Okay, that's okay. So, what I first want to do is just give a summary of what we did last time, and just review that. So that includes, we talked about the concepts, skillful means for handling difficult people. And the thing that we have to understand is this is very linked to our meditation, to our Vedanta, to our Vichara, that unless we have unless we can learn to manage, be skillfully manage different types of people, different types of situations in our work, our home, our church, everywhere, then when we sit for meditation, what's going to happen? What was that?
We'll think of the negative things.
We'll think of the negative things. So we talked about that. Why does that happen? We talked about the negative bias, which is inherent to all of our minds. No matter how confident anyone acts on the outside, unless they've been able to separate themselves from the mind, when they go to sleep, when they wake up, that insecurity, that negativity will be there. So this is the negative bias. In other words, someone may tell us 100 positive things during the day, but if anyone even hints at something negative, that's it, you know. It's like, you know, that rapper Eminem, he'll like a diss rap about the person, get the person canceled. So we talked about how Patanjali said Pratipaksha Bhavanam, counter thoughts, bringing if you think something, this is what the Yoga Sutras say, if you're having feelings of jealousy, Facebook envy, just bring positive thoughts. But we also know that that's not going to do, because that's not enough. So what Buddhism talks about, this concept of metta. Metta means loving kindness, loving friendship. And where does that start? Yes, that starts first at home. They say charity starts at home, so friendship starts at home. And we've been talking about how to make it more powerful. If we just keep it at the mental level, it may not develop that momentum. So we talked about journaling. Sometimes if somebody says something negative about us, rather than reacting, we can just first, after some time, see what they've said objectively. Is it true or not? Secondly, we should also have our own narrative. This is what Swami Vivekananda has talked about, even at this transactional level, feeling good about ourselves, feeling strength about ourselves, about our good, positive qualities, which everyone has. But because of this negative filters, this negative bias, sometimes it's difficult to see. So that's our goal. We have to somehow bring that, make friends with that, make friends with our mind. In the Gita, it says, Udared Atmanatmanam Natmanam Avasadayet. 6.5 of the Gita, which talks about making friends. A mind should be our best friend and not depress us. So how do we put this into practice? What are common things that we face with this? So one thing may be, say in our workplace, our organization, we might have somebody who's more talented than us, a better speaker, a better organizer, better writer, whatever it may be, in something that we prided ourselves on. This is where this Facebook, what they call this Facebook envy, comes up. So what do we do then? So we talked about that one way is to look at everything, practices this Advaita attitude, that there's oneness everywhere. So I don't have to be jealous. There's no one for me to be jealous of. That I only see myself everywhere. But that doesn't really go very far. That's just theoretical. So what we say is that this metta practice, going back to that, going back to this being friends with our own mind, giving ourselves that positive encouragement. The conscious mind needs that, but more importantly, the unconscious mind needs that. Now, we talked about different ways of handling this upekshanam, which means handling different types of people. We talked about Ramakrishna with the angry sadhu, Holy Mother with the man who tried to attack her, and Swami Vivekananda with the person who was making fun of him. So one thing that Swamiji said in Raja Yoga, which I thought is very, very apt, and it's something that we have to be very, very conscious of. And he said, every vicious thought will rebound. Every thought of hatred which you have thought in a cave even is stored up and will one day come back to you with tremendous power in the form of some misery here. If you project hatred and jealousy, they will rebound on you with compound interest. No power can avert them. When once you have put them in motion, you will have to bear them. So this is something very, very important for all of us. We have to really become sensitive to our thoughts. And we have to, what we talk about with the Upanishads, that our mind should be so sensitive that if something falls on there's an Upanishad that if something falls on the pupil of the eye, we, like a cobweb falling, we become very sensitive. We want to scratch it. Similarly, we can really only have self-transformation if our mind becomes sensitive in that way. So this is one thing that we have to be very, very conscious of, about the thoughts, the quality of our mind. Because as Buddha said, if I'm thinking, Balaji, if I'm thinking so many negative things towards you, but if you don't accept it, where does it go back? It goes back to me, right? It goes back to me. So we have to be very, very conscious of that. It doesn't hurt anybody, but it helps me. It makes me unrestful. This is what this Yoga Sutras 1.33 is talking about. We have to be very, very careful about that. Now let's go to the next. I sent out a flyer here. I sent out, and unfortunately we can't see the PowerPoint, but I don't think you guys can see the PowerPoint. Okay, you want to try to turn on Daryl just see if it comes on, just in case. I think you'll come at least here, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's good then. So now we're going to start with Raja Yoga today, and we're going to take this class every Wednesday. And we'll first start with the Raja Yoga, the epigram of Swami Vivekananda in the beginning of Raja Yoga, where he covers, you can say, this is like his epic, his original contributions to Raja Yoga. He says each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. Do this either by work or worship, or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. This is the whole of religion. Doctrines or dogmas, or rituals, or books, or temples, or forms are but secondary details. So if you see here, this is Swami Vivekananda's really unique. No other Acharya, Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, they didn't really talk about this concept of manifestation. It's Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. What is Shravana? Where does it exist? It's at the mental level, right? Listening to the scriptures. Manana means what? Turning over it, yes. Nididhyasana means what?
Application.
How was that?
Application. Taking it and internalizing it.
Internalizing, meditation. So now you first listen to it, you can repeat what's been said. Secondly, now you're making sense of it. Does it make sense? And third stage, meditating upon it. But yet, that's all at where? At the mental level, in the mind. So the problem with this is that even if I think I've had some realization, who's going to tell me I'm right or wrong? It could be something vikalpa or bhranti, something in my own imagination. Who's going to confirm to me that this is right? We don't have a Ramakrishna living nowadays who can see our mind like a glass case. So that's why Swami Vivekananda is saying here, the goal is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. So what we've been talking about, manifest means what? He says in another place, with this knowledge of the Atman, a fisherman will be a better fisherman. A lawyer will be a better lawyer. A doctor will be a better doctor. So we have to update it. An IT person will be a better IT person. We shouldn't leave anybody out. So what does that, how does that take place? Can anybody think, how would that take, what does that mean? I raise this question. Can anyone think about that?
Transformation of the mind. Because you start thinking, see, as long as we learn all these things, it's only in the thought, but we have to express that. When you, this is why Vivekananda said, if you go to the Himalayas, you miss the way. If you are in the world, you miss the way. What is the way? The way is what you learn out of it, express, show it.
But how is it though, but still answering, how does with this knowledge of the spirit, anyone else, how does one become a better lawyer, a better fisherman? What did Swamiji mean by that? Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just thinking that I'm just.
Yeah, go ahead. This is just thinking out loud. Yeah.
I think by controlling all the other aspects of it, the here and now kind of thing, that we are focusing on whatever I do, and if I put in all my effort and all my energy into it at that time, thinking just about that. Like Ramakrishna, like when he was trying to be a Christ, like following Jesus, he was totally and completely, he took the Christianity aspects of it out of Islam. So living in the here and now and focusing on it and not getting scattered in so many hundred different ways.
Okay. So that's one aspect. So Swamiji talks about in a way that others have not talked about this concept of power. I think that's and he says there that okay.
Turn it off.
Turn it on. So he talks about the manifestation means this power, right? So it's still on. Okay. So manifestation means this concept of power. It's not just sitting in a cave and meditating, but it's bringing that into the into our transactional reality as well. So there's a positive benefit by realizing the spirit. Now Swamiji says, do this either by work or worship, or psychic control, or philosophy. This is different. Actually, this is a unique thing because, and we'll get to this. Shankaracharya says what? Yes, philosophy only. Yes, philosophy only. Ramanuja says what?
Worship.
Worship only, yes. What does Swamiji say? Do this by either work or worship, or psychic control, karma yoga, worship, bhakti yoga, psychic control, raja yoga, or philosophy, jnana yoga, by one or more of all of these and be free. So this is a radical transformation that Swami Vivekananda brings into it. He is adjusting to our temperament. No Acharya had, this is one of his unique contributions, and it's being manifested today. We see, we see this now, even in this Sringeri Mott. I don't know, have you heard Sringeri Mott? Sringeri Mott in, which is where Shankaracharya started he started 4 dhamas there. Sringeri, Puri. I just went to Puri a couple of years ago. Now they have hospitals, dispensaries. So we'll get to this. Shankara thought that this work is chitta shuddhi. Work is just only purification of mind. That's all it leaves. But Swami Vivekananda said, no, by work itself, Shiva Jnani Jiva Sheva. By realizing oneself as Shiva and serving that divinity within us, one can realize the highest truth as well. This is what Swami Vivekananda talks about. So this is also our spiritual practice as members of the Ramakrishna mission, Martin mission. We're all members of this organization.
There you go.
Swami, real quick, they can see the screen.
Okay, wonderful.
I just turned the camera, so they can't see you, but they see the screen.
Okay, that's
You
good.
can turn it back whenever you want.
Okay, that's good. And this is the whole of religion. Doctrines or dogmas or rituals or books or temples or forms are but secondary details. So what is Swamiji saying? So actually what he's talking about here, doctrines or dogmas. So we're all busy studying doctrines or dogmas. Rituals, books, temples, or forms are but secondary details. What does that mean? Sean, what does that mean? Give the microphone to Sean. Let's hear Sean. We'll go around.
Means that they're just tools to get to the divinity.
Okay. So what do you mean by tools to get to the divinity?
Well, the fact that that there's more than one way to get to the divinity means that rather than each one being a be all or end all, each one is like a tool to get to the same point. Hence, their secondary details. If these things were primary details, then like, the whole thing would be about them. But the fact that there's many different paths means that it cannot be what the primary goal is. The primary goal is God. These are just the afterthoughts of how to get to God.
Okay, that's one. So I'll get and Rajiv, we'll get back to you. I see your hand raised, but I'll just first finish this, then we'll get back to that. So that's one thing. But what Ramakrishna said, the whole of religion, they can see it right there. They can see the screen.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, tell us.
Oh, okay.
Oh, here.
You guys can see the screen on Zoom? Okay. So, but the main thing we're talking about is religion is experience.
Here. Good girl.
Okay. Someone's speaking there. So this is what Ramakrishna is talking about. The main thing is spiritual experience, that we've come to not count the mangoes, but do what?
Taste them.
Yes, taste the mangoes. Yeah, taste the mangoes. So that's what we've come to do actually. So that's actually a very powerful thing, because then this life becomes a much more joyful life if we can do that. Now, let's go to philosophy today. So, because we're going to go to Raja Yoga. So what I first wanted to talk about is what is meant by philosophy.
Question for the previous slide. Do you want us to ask the question at the end?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. What's your?
I was stuck on the controlling nature, external and
You have to speak into the mic.
I was stuck on controlling nature, external and internal, and that's where I was thinking about the here and now and concentration and all of that. So that's not it. Is it more like combination of worship and like all the different yogas? Is that what is important?
You mean do this by either by work or controlling nature?
Yeah, that's what I was totally stuck on that.
Okay, so controlling nature means what Swami Vivekananda meant by that is that first, controlling nature means that, and he talked about this in Raja Yoga. Once you develop first internally control of your breath, he calls it prana. And once you have, if you have this control, absolute control of your breath, this prana extends over the entire universe. He calls it akasha. It's all linked together. It starts from within, inside out. If you truly get control over the microcosm, then at some level you can also control the macrocosm. Now, when he says control within and without, so within means my mind here, what Swamiji means, mind, the mind thoughts. I have control over my mind. Without means my sense organs.
Not external.
Yes, so many things I see in front of me. So controlling the mind, not allowing the mind to go towards those things. Like in the Kathopanishad, they have the example of the chariot with the horses. And so controlling the horses are like the sense organs. They see as they're going, I don't know, what does a horse get attracted by?
Sugar.
Sugar. So sweets. Okay, so they're going on the path and they see like the horse Or, better yet is like a dog, like a dog, you're taking the dog for a walk. It's a pretty big dog, and it sees another dog or something, and you can't control it. So like keeping control over the things, that's internal and external. Okay.
Thank you.
Now let's go to what is meant by philosophy. So this is a very important thing, and this is going to be the thing we talk about today. Philosophy is meant, we'll go back to a conversation that Ramakrishna had with Master Mahashaya during one of their first meetings. He asked Master Mahashaya 3 questions during their first meeting. What were those 3 questions? Tumike, how do you see yourself? What is your conception of yourself? Secondly, Jagat, what is your conception of this world? Third, what is your conception of God, Ishvara? And fourth, what is the relation between the Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara? Every philosophy deals with these questions. And before we go on, I would ask what Master Mahashaya had asked of Ramakrishna asked of Master Mahashaya. This is something we can also ask of ourselves too. That what is our conception of how do we see ourselves? Not what philosophy we're studying, but how do we truly see ourselves? What is my conception of God? So Swami Vivekananda talked about this. He wrote, gave this series of lectures on the evolution of God. So some people, especially in Christianity, or Semitic religions, they see God as the punisher. That you better, as the punisher, and because if you don't act good, he'll send you to hell, and if you act nice, he'll send you to heaven. So this is the thing. What is this relationship between these 3? So now I'm going to just present these different types of philosophies today. And I just want to do this because we were exposed to these different philosophies. So I just wanted to, this was given to me by a great monk of our order, Swami Bhajanananda Ji. He talked about, you could see here on top is Ishvara, God. Jagat is the universe, and Jiva is the individual. So the relationship between these 3. Now in Advaita Vedanta, what do we say? This angle between God and the universe, this deals with what's Srishti, how this universe came into existence. So according to, let me ask Sean, how does in Advaita Vedanta, how did the universe come about?
Jnana,
What was that?
from ignorance.
Yeah, okay, ignorance, that's okay. But technically, according to Vedanta Sara, how does it come about?
So ignorance is made up of 3 units, sattva, rajas, and tamas, and with the
Give the microphone.
So ignorance is made up of sattva, rajas, and tamas, and it also has 2 powers, avarana and vikshepa. And through the power of vikshepa, it projects the subtle universe, and then through panchikarna, you get the physical universe.
So you're partially right and partially incomplete. So what we say in the Vedanta Sara, you're right. What we say with Vedanta Sara, this Nirguna Brahman, Saguna Brahman comes into contact. Saguna Brahman comes into contact with Maya. And from that combination, through Maya's power of this Vikshepa Shakti, Avarana Shakti, this universe, yes, comes into existence. Vikshepa means projection, and Avarana means covering, delusion. Yes. This is the Srishti. So ultimately in Advaita Vedanta, this universe is actually Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, unreal. Okay. Yet Shankara was very kind, so he said that in addition to this, we have something called the Bhavaharika Satyam, the transactional reality. So anyways, we're the jiva right here. And the jiva, we're trying to realize ourselves as the Atman, Nirguna Brahman, attain Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So this concept of Ishvara in Advaita Vedanta is Nirguna Nirakara, without form, without quality. Tattvamasi, which thou art. This is Advaita Vedanta. And how do we realize that? They talk about discrimination. Cutting Nitya Anitya Vastu by discriminating between the real and the unreal. Chit Jara Granthi, discriminating between the animate and the inanimate. And also Drisha Viveka, between the subject and object. Ultimately, what's the subject?
It is, Brahman.
Yes, Brahman Atman, yes. This is Advaita Vedanta in a nutshell. Now, let's see another philosophy. Qualified non-dualism, we call it Vishishtadvaita, Ramanujacharya. So they believe that this God, Ishvara, is immanent and transcendent. So it comprises this entire world, and yet it's also Vaikuntha, Vishnu. We're all a part of Vishnu, we're the Angsha of Vishnu, and yet Vishnu is also something separate. So when we talk about this world, we say something called Parinamavada, coming into existence, like curd and milk. So this world is actually real. This world in Vishishtadvaita is real. We're real. There's different categories of existence. There's the, what do you call that? The animate and the inanimate. Now, according to Vishishtadvaita, the jiva needs to realize himself as the Angsha, as the part of God. And unlike Advaita, we say that Shankara says that we go through 3 different stages. We start with Karma Yoga. From Karma Yoga, we get Chitta Shuddhi, purification of mind. And from purification of mind, then we go to this Bhakti Yoga. And then from Bhakti Yoga devotion, we go to Jnana, which is studying the scriptures. This Shravana Manana Nididhyasana of these Advaitic texts. This is according to Advaita Vedanta. Vishishtadvaita is a little bit different. They say that you start with Karma Yoga, then you go to Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga, according to Ramanujacharya, is not meditation upon the studying the scriptures. It's meditating upon oneself as the spirit. It's called Atmavalokanam. Once you meditate sufficiently, you realize yourself as the spirit, then the next stage you go to Prapatti, which is self-surrender to God. This is Ramanujacharya's philosophy. Then we have Semitic religions and Dvaita too. We have God up here. And this world comes from God. In Christianity, it comes from, there's a complete separation here between God and the universe. And I'm the jiva. And there's a complete separation from me and God. So my way here is through the path of devotion. I realize myself as that Brahman, as the servant of God. Now we come to this Yoga Sankhya philosophy, which is the ultimate stage in here is that there's 2, Purusha and Prakriti both exist. There are 2 realities, Purusha and Prakriti. And Sankhya and Vedanta are very similar. It says that Purusha comes into close proximity with Prakriti, and then this through the 3, like Shani was saying, the 3 gunas, this world vibrates, comes into existence. Now the jiva, the individual, through this Ashtanga Yoga, through this 8-fold path, which many of you know, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Ultimately you realize yourself as this Purusha, separate from Prakriti. This is the Sankhya Yoga Sankhya philosophy. So I'm giving these different types of philosophies right here. It's a lot of stuff we've presented. I'm just presenting this because we're going to go to the Yoga Sutras. So we just want to see how it's the similarities and the differences between the different philosophies. We'll go over it again. It's a lot of stuff. It's kind of heavy right now. We'll go over it again and again. And it's theoretical, but still we should have some background knowledge about that. Yeah. And then Ramakrishna's Vijnana philosophy, Brahma Satyam Jagat Satyam. Now, what does Ramakrishna say about this? According to what you've heard about the Vijnana, what does that mean? Brahma Satyam Jagat Satyam.
Because this is what Ramakrishna says. When once you realize it is the same, because see, right now we are thinking it's the name and form.
Yes.
But it is not the name and form. It is the consciousness. It is the same consciousness, Brahman and the Atman. And realizing it, that is Vivekananda starts with the, serve the Jiva as Shiva.
Right.
The same thought.
Right. So we say that all this is all consciousness, the Nama Rupa of the universe, the Jiva and Brahman. It's all Ramakrishna had that experience. He saw everything manifesting as this consciousness. So this is something that Advaita Vedanta did not talk about. This is something Ramakrishna mentioned. Now, some may say that this is one philosophy that's being espoused, but it's not necessarily, I know many monks that are Advaitins in our order. So I would say that it depends on one's temperament, actually. So we don't say that this is Vijnana is Ramakrishna's only philosophy. Anywhere you look, he's in fact, I would say that that's a mistake. That's limiting Ramakrishna. So anywhere you look, Ramakrishna was an Advaitin, a Vishishta Advaitin. Master Mahashai, the compiler of the Kautamrita, he thought Ramakrishna was a Vishishta Advaitin, qualified non-dualism. An Advaitin, many of our monks are Advaitins. Ramakrishna was initiated by Totapuri. And at the same time, Ramakrishna was Advaita, a Shakta, a worshipper of Mother Kali. So what Ramakrishna was, you can't put a limit to that. You may say he's this plus one. So we can't limit his philosophy. One can say world affirming, but I can show you evidence he's also world denying. So the thing he's telling us, he's very generous with us, depending upon our own temperament, which also changes throughout time. What I am, what Eves is today, what Eves was 10 years ago, and what you are now, and what you'll be in 10 years from now. Our mind, our beliefs are always changing. So not to put a fixed mindset on that. What did we talk about in the beginning? What's the ultimate? Doctrines, dogmas. What did Swamiji say there? Let's go back to that. His epigraph. Yeah, this is the whole of religion. Doctrines, dogmas, rituals, books, temples, or forms are but secondary details. Our main thing is to do what? To eat the mango. Have some type of an experience. Make it just more than mentally. In fact, it's in Hanuman. This is from the Kautamrita. Ramakrishna used to quote Hanuman, which I think is a good Deha buddhya tudashosmi jiva buddhya tum angshakaha. O Lord, so Rama asked Hanuman, what do you think of me? What is your relationship with me? Deho buddhya tudasosmi. O Lord, when I think of myself as the body, dasaha asmi. Then I think of myself as your servant. Jiva buddhya tum angshakaha. And when I think of myself as that spirit beyond this mind body, some inseparable spirit, I think of myself as a part of you. Angshakaha. But when I think Atma Buddhya tam evam aham iti me nischita matihi, when I think of myself as the Atman, then I see no difference between you and me. This is also our attitude too. So we have a predominant disposition, but ultimately that you'll see that that disposition sometimes changes. At the same time, I would push back on that. Ramakrishna says, don't dig too many holes. If something works with you, keep going with that. Don't jump from one day, I'm a bhakta, next day I'm on Advaita. You first have to get some tracking in one place and start from there. So we have to be flexible. We have to be both broad and at the same time deep. So Ramakrishna used to talk about this. He was able to identify when his devotees would come to him, one of two types, either what you call a Vishnu type or a Shiva type. Vishnu type is what? Vishnu type is the devotee. And the Shiva type is what? Jnana, the path of Jnana. Okay. Now I know some devotees, they've been bhaktas their whole life, or karma yogis. And now they're getting a little bit older. And they said, Maharaj, I want to study the Upanishads. And now they're really hungry after the Upanishads. I know others, monks, whole life they're Advaitins, but then after some time, they now become big devotees. So even if you look at the life of Shankaracharya, all these Ramanujacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, we think of him as the founder of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. But before he was an expert in Nyaya, logic, Jnana. Shankaracharya, in spite of all of his Advaita Jnana, he wrote so many stotrams. In fact, if any of you ever go to Sringeri Mutt, where he lived, he started that Mutt. In the morning time, you know what the first thing they do? They do a long puja to Mother Sharada, Saraswati. That's what they do. So going back to what Swami Vivekananda says, it's quite profound. Do this either by work or worship, or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. So for most of us, we try to practice a combination of all four. That's our goal. You have this Shiva yoga every once a week on what is it, Saturday, the first or second Saturday. So there we're doing karma yoga. Who are we serving? We're serving Ramakrishna, not ourselves. Yeah, yesterday Daryl had to fix our washing machine, there was something wrong. But afterwards we were saying, who was it? Who is he serving? It's actually Ramakrishna. So this is what we say Shiva yoga. So any type of action we do, especially in an ashram, if it's done with the proper attitude, that gives direct chitta shuddhi. It's different from doing that in one's home. What's the difference? Okay, here, so we say that we have that philosophy, this faith that this ashram belongs to Thakur, Ramakrishna. So everything that's direct service to him. So that's what we try to do. We try to combine worship. Now, you do worship in your home sometimes. Sometimes you come to the arati here. So this is worship. Psychic control. The guru is given, many of you got initiation now. So, or if you have not gotten the initiation, you meditate still every day. This is psychic, doing meditation every day. And philosophy, studying the scriptures, studying these, listening to YouTube talks. It's not just one, it's a combination of all of these. So sometimes they used to say our mind during the day should rotate between one of these four yogas. What will that do? By doing that, say I want to now focus on Jnana Yoga, study the scriptures. We'll find then that our mind already has momentum. We're keeping it at a certain plane. They said about a Holy Mother they have something called the chakras. There's 7 different chakras. So the heart chakra, Anahata chakra, they say that that's the initial awakening of a spiritual person. They realize themselves as something separate from the body and mind complex. They said, Holy Mother, she always dwelt at this third chakra. She never went below here. So keeping the mind at that level all of the time, as much as possible. Okay, and I just want to end with something Swami Turiyananda said about Ramakrishna's philosophy. He says, it is not so easy. He said this at the end of his life. He said, Brahma Satyam Jagat Satyam. So Brahman is real and the world is also equally real. Swami Brahmananda, he said at the end of his life, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. The world is real, God is real, but the world is unreal. And it seems almost opposite because Swami Brahmananda was a great devotee and Swami Turiyananda was the greatest of Gyanis. So, but at the end of the life, it seems like something else happened. I just wanted to see, right, what Swami Turiyananda had said about this. He said, it is not so easy to speak about Ramakrishna's philosophy. It seems to me that to encourage the followers of all religions, he declared, Joto mot toto pot, as many faiths, so many paths. He made the statement after he himself practiced disciplines of various religious paths and experienced that their paths lead to the same truth. The ultimate truth is one and non-dual. It is called by various names, Brahman, Paramatman, Bhagavan, God, and so on. Whoever has realized that truth has tried to express it according to his own temperament and understanding by giving it a particular name. But nobody has been able to express the whole truth. That's interesting. Nobody has been able to express the whole truth. What he is. That is the final conclusion of those who have realized him. From different standpoints, Gaudapada's doctrine of no creation, Shankara's doctrine of superimposition, Ramanuja's doctrine of transformation, and Srikanta's doctrine of Shivadvaita. Each one of these is true. Apart from all these doctrines, God is beyond all human expression and beyond cognition. The founders of all these philosophical systems practiced austerities, and having received God's grace, they preached the various doctrines at his command. So they received God's grace, they preached the various doctrines at his command, according to how they interpreted it. God is the subject from which these doctrines evolved, but he himself is beyond them. To express this truth is the philosophy of Sri Ramakrishna. Brahma Satyam Jagat Satyam. A very deep letter. We have to read this again and again. It's a very, very deep letter. But I think ultimately what it's saying, and this is what I kind of understood when I was in Harvard, when I took a class on the Upanishads, and that was this, that no matter how even the Upanishads wish to express the concept of Brahman, it's Angushta Matra, it dwells in the cave of the heart. It's Ishavasyam Idam Sarvam. It's all eminent. It's everywhere. Ultimately, all these things are limiting. They don't express what Brahman is, cannot be expressed by the Upanishads. Ramakrishna said this. He said, you know what the Upanishads are like? Or what an incarnation is like? It's like looking at a meadow through a hole in the wall. So through the hole in the wall, you get some hint of what's out there. So through an incarnation, through these ideas of Brahman that's put, we get some hint. But what it actually is needs to be experienced, anubhuti. So with that, I'll conclude, and 8:25. And if anyone has any questions? I think Rajiv, let's start. Rajiv, you can, you raised your hand a long time ago. So,
That was in context to some question you had for the audience. I forgot what it was.
okay, that's okay then. Okay. So, okay, Sean, let's start with you. Go ahead.
I was wondering if, by Hanumanji's quote, doesn't he imply that Advaita is the highest truth? Because he says, when I'm looking from no distinction whatsoever, like if I'm looking from beyond the spirit, they're the same. So doesn't that imply that's the highest reality?
That's a very good, let's just go back to that quote. So, and I'll just, so why would you say that though? I mean, I'm just asking.
First of all, the body is gonna fall after realization, so it's not completely real, so you can't look at that as the ultimate truth, so we can eliminate that one. And then as the individual soul, that one is harder to eliminate, but if you think about that as sort of being relative, in the sense that like there is a distinction between me and someone else, and if you look at Advaita, it's like me and him being the same, it's like complete oneness, and so isn't that statement just implying that that's the highest, because that's the level that's the most transcendental, in other words?
Right, so you can definitely interpret it that way, but a Vishishta Dvaita would have a different opinion. They would say that the ultimate is to be, and by the way, the argument you made, this is what Advaitins make towards Vishishta Dvaita, that how can being a servant, that's not the ultimate nature. So how can that be, that's something still being a servant, even if it's of the Lord, it's something limiting. Who wants to be a servant? I want to be the master. This is what they say. And they will say, no, that type of servitude does not give bondage, but gives freedom and joy. So to be in the presence of that all-encompassing Lord. So then you also feel expanded at that time. You're no longer in this nama rupa of Shan. You're in that what that is difficult to conceive, until we're at that stage. So I'm just saying what you're saying is also true. And they call that like the ladder theory in Advaita Vedanta. Advaita have said that Advaita is the highest stage, and below that Vishishta Dvaita, below that is Dvaita. But we say that some say that, but we what ultimately is, I don't know. But but that's what you're saying is one point of view.
I also had a question about practicing jnana yoga.
Yeah.
So do people usually like do the process of discrimination simultaneously with studying the scriptures, or is it like after you study the scriptures, then you do the neti?
You see, that's a good question. So going back to what Swamiji said here, the goal is to manifest this divinity. How we also take this manifest this divinity, these ideas that we get, whether it's Advaita, Dvaita, whatever, they should be brought into our immediate environment. So what you were asking if say that again?
Yeah, so when people practice jnana yoga, do they study the scriptures simultaneously with doing neti, or do they do the scriptures first and then at a later stage they drop the scriptures and then just do neti?
No, it has to go simultaneously because neti is one type of form of vichara, right? So that we have to constantly practice that. In fact, that just doesn't come. That's as we do that more and more, then the Advaitic truths reveal themselves to us more and more as well. Neti. But Ramakrishna also said what? Iti. So Swami Vivekananda also said that. Have the power of detachment, cutting the world, but also you have to also have the power of attachment, attaching ourselves to God or the Atman. Sometimes that gets lost in Advaita Vedanta. It's too much cutting, but not enough of emphasis, I feel, of what Shankara said. This, what is bhakti? Bhakti is nishtha towards one's own Atman. That's what, or towards the path of knowledge. That also has to be brought into it as well. Otherwise, what can happen is Advaita can become like a very dry philosophy. Because if you're always cutting, you know, what was that?
I said, what is left?
Yeah, what's left? Yeah, if you cut too much, and then the Bhagavatam says that too, that the mind cannot stay in a vacuum. So if you're always cutting, it has to be replaced with something. Otherwise, we become nihilistic. And that happened to a few of the directors. Swami Vivekananda, they reached such a stage when Ramakrishna was in Kashipur. Swami Shivananda said this. They almost became atheistic. They're leaning towards Buddhism. So that's why we have to always put both together. Both have to go simultaneously. So while practicing Advaita Vedanta, the Guru also gave instructions. So that's the ETE. Okay, I think.
I just have one.
Yeah.
I just have one comment, in the gospel, there's so many times Ramakrishna says, I don't want to be sugar,
Yeah.
I want to eat sugar. And to talk about like what Sean said earlier, like Ramakrishna had tamed that with the Nirvana. I mean, like, there is nothing more he could. I mean, he was right there in the highest plane. In spite of it, he wanted to come down and be like worshiping Mother and seeing her and talking to her and singing to her and all, so on and so forth. So he definitely said that yes, he has reached that plane, but he always wanted to be at the level that he still had that mother worship. So like Hanuman, so that's why I'm thinking like, although there were those 3 stages, I don't think anything is better than the other. It is more like a different times in his life in Hanuman, or different, even during the same day, at different time during the day, he felt differently towards Rama. Okay, so that's another interpretation. So everyone has their own, their own I'm not saying that that's better or worse, but it's in the Ramakrishna, in the gospel, the Kathamrita, they had that tiktiki, that chameleon, and everyone said that, what color is the chameleon? So someone says Shabuj, one green, another said lal, so another person said red, another person said another yellow, and then the whole, and then someone who lives there all the time says, you're all right, just don't limit what it is. So like that. So, but it's good to have faith also in your own. That's how one gains that nishtha in one's own path, But at the same time, what Ramakrishna, you could, probably, you were the same age as Sri Ma when Ramakrishna first met him, and he asked him in Bengali, Nirakara na Shakara bhal lage? Do you like God without form or with form? Then Master Mahashaya said, I prefer without form. Then Ramakrishna said what? Okay, but don't ever think what? Yes, that your path alone is right and all the others are wrong. In fact, he did much more than that. Master Mahashaya at first criticized the idol worship. Yeah, he said that shouldn't someone tell that's not good to worship mud and clay? And then Ramakrishna, what did he said back? You Kolkata people love to give lectures. And what else? You're inviting everybody. You don't even have a room in your own bed for yourself, and you're inviting everybody to come. So this is the thing that never limit what it can be, the possibilities. But what works for us, that's a great advantage to find that out, because then we can apply our knowledge. We can apply our prana there. Yeah. Okay, another question. Let's start with Angshu. Angshu, please unmute yourself.
Hi, yeah, I just had a comment that all of this has kind of been bringing out for me. It's kind of tied it together for me. You talk about tasting the mango, and the thing that I found, I haven't read the gospel in a long time, but the thing I found throughout the gospel is a necessary consequence of tasting the mango is compassion and love, And I think compassion and love is what ties all of the philosophies together. It's easy to talk about being beyond the body when you have a full belly and you don't have cancer, right? But when you're suffering, when people are suffering, you go to you come down and you say, okay, man, you're suffering. Like, I see you're suffering, right? That's like the Dvaita kind of, right? But then the Advaita is, you know, like love, the love is still there in the connection and unity between God, you and God. So, you know, so I think love and compassion is what kind of helps you weave these philosophies to the best of your ability together. Of course, you can't do it with the mind. It's an experience of love, you know. So that's all I had to say.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Anshu, and you know, I agree with that too. And I think that that's one thing that Swami Vivekananda talked about that as well. He was the greatest Advaitin. But he also said that, you know, if at the end of his life, he said, he told Swami Tudyananda, Hari Bhai. He said, Dakho Hari Bhai. I mean, Janina, I don't know what I've gained. কিন্তু আমি এটা বলতে পারছি, I can tell this, আমার হৃদয় খুব মানে উদার হয়েছে. My heart has become very broad. So Swamiji could then feel in Bellarmont, he used to visit that room, he would stay, Swami Vivekananda was staying right next to him in his bedroom. And one time there was like this big earthquake or something in Japan, and many people were killed. So Swamiji woke up in the middle of the night, and he was very restless. And then Swami Tudyananda asked him what happened. He said, I don't know, but something happened. I feel very restless. So what you're saying is that I think that as we go on, you look at these, even these great Advaitins, Ramana Maharishi, how much of a great heart they had for others. They would really feel for others. Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, their heart becomes very, very tender, actually. Okay, Glenn? Glenn, can you please show? Yeah, hey, Glenn.
Hey, Swamiji. I just had a comment.
Yeah,
The letter that you read, to me, it was I think it was the first time I can actually appreciate the difficult job that the Upanishads have in trying to explain the unexplainable. And in my head, I always think, you know, I'm learning Advaita Vedanta, or I'm learning how to become self-realized, but really it's only pointing you in the direction. And like Ashmu said, eating from the mango is the goal, but the text can't do it for you, in other words.
yes, the text can't do it for you. Absolutely. You're right. You're right. The text, yeah, I agree with you. But what does that mean though, Glenn? Do you mean the texts are not necessary?
No, they're definitely necessary. This is the first time I can appreciate that the text, they can get you 99.999% of the way there.
Yeah.
But that last piece, they can't tell you what it is, because it's not something you can explain. And so you need the text to get anywhere close to it, unless you're, you know, a saint. But it's the first time I can really appreciate how the philosophies, they may say completely two different things, but they both work, because, you know, choosing any one is essentially limiting Brahman. So it really resonated with me.
That's true. And that's why, but there is a way, there's a third option, that is the text with the lives, say Ramakrishna, the lives of Ramakrishna, Holy Mother. So or Swami Vivekananda, so they give like they make, if you, it's in the Bhagavad Gita, Shankara's commentary, Sthita Pragya Lakshanam Sadhanam Upadishyate. So he says that the way these great souls, the way they moved and walked and talked, that's our spiritual practice. So when we combine the philosophy and his Upanishads, I've experienced this with their lives, then it becomes something, you know, it becomes something more, it becomes alive. I feel it becomes more alive. But going back to what you said, I agree entirely that they give us that. Ultimately, we want to eat the mango. That's our goal.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Yeah, thank you. We'll just one moment. This see, Rajiv, your hand is raised.
Yeah. So just a comment, like, I think about eating the mangoes. I guess like when you are drowning, you don't really care about anything. You just want to hang on to something that's going to work and prevent you from drowning. And so I think I felt like for me, like a lot of these are like tools, and different tool can be used in different circumstances. Um, and I also feel like maybe with time, as time involved, and you know, in Sanatan Dharma, even in general in the world, we are exposed to more and more philosophies. But I feel like the way Sri Ramakrishna and even Sri Aurobindo, how they put it, and Sri Aurobindo's philosophy also evolved from Sri Ramakrishna and Vivekananda's philosophy. I mean, kind of he expounded on that in a way. But I feel it's like the product of the right mind, right brain, where it's trying to make sense of all of these and integrating it into like a very big whole. Left mind kind of like slices and dices. It's like that knife. It's not synthetic. And so yeah, if it is this, then that's it. It's very linear. So I can't think of anything else. But I think this particular thing puts everything in its place. And then for me, it's almost like, if I have a problem, then what is it that works? What attitude works best in this situation? Which
Right.
might be like, if I'm depressed or I'm angry, or I have a Herculean task to do, which is not really possible for me. Like, what is the problem, and what do I need to, like, what kind of God I need at that time?
Right, right. Yeah, thank you. Sean, you had a question?
Yeah, no, you have a question.
I do.
Oh,
Yeah.
you
Oh.
go first.
Oh, she,
No,
no, you're the, no, you're the, and,
Oh, no, it's
no,
fine.
no, please.
Okay. I have a, I have a much simpler, shorter question. Maybe not simple, but, what is the definition of the soul and what are its attributes?
What is the definition of the soul and its attributes?
Yes.
Okay, so what philosophy are you asking from?
Yours.
My philosophy.
Yes, Swami.
I think normally when we talk about the soul, we talk about something permanent, beyond this mind, body, ego complex. So, for example, in this yoga philosophy, when we talk about the soul, we're talking about this Purusha. Our true nature is Purusha. Purusha and Prakriti, our true nature is separate ourselves from my identification with this ego mind body complex. That's the yoga philosophy. Advaita philosophy, the true nature, this Brahman, Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi. You are that ultimate nature. That is what you are. Nothing else is there besides that. So our goal is to realize that. Vishishta Dvaita, I'm this Anksha of the Lord. So my goal is to realize myself as a servant of the Lord. So, ultimate, when you say the concept of the soul, ultimately we use that it has to be calibrated. What we're thinking of as something beyond the mind, ego, body complex that you are, that I am, that our true nature. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Some of the issues, because I see in some of the texts, so they talk about the subtle body, but whereas in some of the texts, they talk about the Atman. That is the confusing thing.
Absolutely. But in the Atman, the term Atman can be used, even in the Gita, it's used like in 5 or 6 different ways. It can be used as the mind. It can be used as the soul. It can be used as the subtle body. So many different ways. So it really depends, like synonyms, for example. So these different Sanskrit words can have different connotations depending upon the context and what the author is intending.
That is why we need a guru.
Well, that type of thing, but that guru is for your spiritual. This is just a scripture, So that's guru takes you, can give you the purpose of experience, because as long as you're dealing with words, it can always go this, back and forth, right? But experience is something that you've made your own. Can Can you tell me what does a mango taste like?
Even in experience, there are three things, right? There is the object and the subject and the experience itself.
Yes.
But both object and subject are unreal. It's only the consciousness which is shining both of them is the reality.
Yes.
So all we have to do is in every experience, even on the worldly experiences, we just have to say, okay, this is the consciousness.
No. What you're saying, this is that's not the consciousness though. That the consciousness is the subject. The moment you say this is the consciousness, according to your Vedanta, Drisha Viveka, that you're objectifying. The consciousness can never be objectified. The consciousness is the subject that's objectifying the experience.
Okay. So I should not use the word D there. Is that what, because
this consciousness, the consciousness is always the subject, never the object. This is what Drisha Viveka says, right? The moment you can, anything you can objectify, I can objectify my mind. I'm not my mind. I can objectify my body. I'm not my body. I can objectify my feelings. I'm feeling sad today. I'm feeling happy today. So I'm not my feelings. Who is that's objectifying that? That's the subject.
So Swami, with that in mind, I guess our claiming of the soul being synonymous with Brahman, is that also objectifying or?
No, that's our ultimate nature. So when you say soul is Brahman, this Atman, Jivat, this Atman is Brahman, yes, we say that's the truth.
Right. So I guess from the perspective of the jiva, the individual jiva, or the individual soul, I guess individual is just.
Individual, then we say strip off that upadhi, that makes it Shan, Daryl, Shivadas, whatever that name is changing. So strip off all these different things. That's what Advaita says, and then there's no difference between you and Ishvara.
Right.
You're both Brahman ultimately.
So ultimately, the concept of an individual soul is.
Individual soul means temporarily, but we say that drop has to merge with the ocean.
Yes, it has to merge with the ocean.
So ultimately, when we say that the ultimate experience is self-abnegation, that this little this little identification we have must go.
Hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, so practically speaking, like how does studying the mango, i.e. Jnana Yoga, lead to tasting the mango? Where is the connection?
Yeah, so when you're studying say it again?
Studying the mango.
Studying the mango.
Yes.
Oh, studying the mango.
How does studying the mango? How does studying the mango lead to tasting the mango? What's the connection?
Great. See, studying. I have to appreciate your ingenuity. So I think when you're saying studying the mango, as we went over what the different means were in your model, I think that's the first model we had here. Nitya Anitya Vastu. So what is Nitya Anitya Vastu? What does that mean? Yeah, discriminating between the real and the unreal. What you say you're neti, right? So what the mango is, this is not. And at the same time, what Swami Vivekananda said, what the mango is. So by neti means cutting our attachments to the world, to the impermanent. And at the same time, strengthening our attachment to that which is permanent. They have to go together. That's Advaita Vedanta. Because then our energy gets focused in one direction. If I'm always attached to the world, then I won't be able to move forward in the path of the spirit. So they're like two sides of the same coin, if that makes sense.
I guess my question is like, what's the point in studying the scriptures versus like, sitting in a corner and saying 1818 or reciting the Mahavakya? Like, what's the point of the scriptural study in that sense?
Oh no, the scriptural study, these are based on, the scriptures these Upanishads, they're based on the realization of the rishis. And thinking about that, that brings further and further clarification. Otherwise, if you're just saying these Mahavakyas in your mind, that's what we call in yoga, vikalpa, imagination. So no, we don't want imagination. When the scriptures means what? The realization of these rishis, these eternal truths, they're coming down there. So for them, that's why we're studying those things. These are something that we know they're true, but we have not realized them yet. But we feel them when we read the Upanishads. When we see these things, we feel, yes, this is true. So that every time we do that, that's expanding our conception, getting clarity of what Ramakrishna asked right here. What is your conception of Brahman? What is your conception of God? That is constantly evolves. If you ask a sadhu or a great devotee at the end of their life what they think of Ramakrishna, so it's evolved over time. It doesn't just stay static. So similarly, by studying these different scriptures, our concept is always evolving. Our ideas are constantly getting clarified. In fact, Sean, if you look at this, just remember, if you study the same Upanishad now that you're studying right now, in 10 years, you'll see your ideas will be completely different. Is that changing? Or is your mind changing? Are you getting further clarity? You guys brought a lot of philosophical questions today.
You started it.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. So,
Swami,
yes,
this is Shailesh here. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. Yes, please go ahead. Yes, sorry, Leslie, yes.
So, Swami, thank you for a wonderful topic and the discussion. Really liked it. Whenever I do the study of scriptures of such topics, the ideas are great and it's great intellectual stimulation. But once I turn off, I get sucked into the world, and so many things, and the mind doesn't stay at that high level. And by the time the class happens the next time, most of the topics and thoughts and everything is just gone.
Right.
So my question is that how do we actually take that one step or do something which will make all these learning discussion ideas permanent and make that small infinite simile change in my personality?
Yeah, I think that you're all doing it. I think this is the process, and even like what you're talking about, this what happens afterwards. So we're trying to we don't know. Holy Mother says that we should not judge our own spiritual progress, because who are we to know ourselves? We don't know, but slowly, just the mere fact that you've been sticking with this for 20, 30 years, so definitely it's hard for you to tell, but definitely stability of mind comes. Duties are different now, but you'll see if you can see what you were like 10 years ago and what you're like now, constantly evolving, constantly questioning. So there's no end in the spiritual path. This is the most difficult because it's the highest ideal that we're trying to manifest.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so I think that's it then. Okay, thank you all so much. And I think I just wanted to say that I think this Sunday we're going to have a workshop on from last week's talk about cultivating spiritual habits in an age of distraction. So we'll have a workshop, and that will go from 11 o'clock to 12:30. And so that's what we're going to try to do. And second thing, I just want to remind you that Eves is going to be taking us on whoever's interested, on a wonderful pilgrimage of places associated with Martin Luther King. I'm telling them a lot of my friends in other places of the country, so they wish they were here to come and see it. So, and she's worked very, very hard, and I'm really excited about it. I just hope it rains that day. So let's pray for rain that day, so we can have some respite from the sun. So that's it. Okay, thank you.